They're streaming it, and they are also recording it.
Okay, everyone, we're going to get started here. Thank you all for being here. Now I'm going to hand it off to Jamie Lockhart.
Hi, I'm Jamie Lockhart. I'm the Executive Director of Planned Parenthood Advocates of Virginia. As you all know, the Supreme Court has overturned Roe v. Wade and nearly 50 years of precedent, eliminating the federal constitutional right to abortion. The court is taking our power to control our bodies and personal decisions and giving it to politicians. The court, now dominated by justices hostile to our freedoms, has failed us all. Knowing it was coming does not make this moment any less devastating. The court has especially failed Black, Latinx, Indigenous, and other people of color who are disproportionately harmed by abortion bans due to this country's legacy of racism and discrimination. But to be clear, here in Virginia, abortion is still legal. It is still your right. But the days of legal abortion in Virginia may be numbered. While abortion will continue to be legal in Virginia, the future of abortion rights here in Virginia depends on our elected officials serving in Richmond. We are only one state Senate seat away from a Texas-style abortion ban. And make no mistake, this decision goes beyond abortion. This wrongful ruling is about who has power over you, who has the authority to make decisions for you, and who can control how your future is going to be. This decision goes against the will of the people. 80% of Americans and nearly 80% of Virginians believe that access to abortion should be legal. This decision will impact 36 million women, nearly half of the women of reproductive age in the United States, and more people who can become pregnant. This decision means that government officials in states across the country may soon be investigating and potentially criminalizing pregnancy outcomes, including for pregnancies that end in miscarriage. It's an attack on our rights, our privacy, and our freedom. We know the consequences of this decision will be. We know who will be most impacted. We've seen it play out in states like Texas. Anti-abortion politicians have been systematically working to ban and restrict access to abortion one state at a time. And just last week, here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, Governor Youngkin tried to ban funding for abortion for Virginians of low incomes when faced with a non-viable severe fetal diagnosis. In the darkest moment for these Virginians, Governor Youngkin and Virginia Republicans said, "You're on your own." Planned Parenthood Advocates of Virginia will not back down. We will fight to defend the rights of people seeking sexual and reproductive health care, including abortion. Together, we will make sure that everyone has the care they need to control their bodies and their futures. That means that no anti-abortion politicians No bans, no judges should block our personal medical decisions. It's not over. We have strength in numbers and power in our united voices. And I'd now like to turn it over to Kenda Sutton-L of Birth in Color.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kenda Sutton-L. I'm the Executive Director of Birth in Color RVA. This news is definitely devastating, especially when Black women die three times more likely to die during childbirth than white women. And so to take away our right of to have an abortion or not, when to have children, is appalling, especially when we've worked decades to overturn and change the scope of what this looks like. We have a governor of Virginia who doesn't know anything about politics, but somehow he got elected. And so I'm going to petition all of you guys to make sure that when you're voting, you know who you're voting for. And for the white women that I see standing out here, you guys are always out here with us, but when we looked at those data from when the election was, you decided to play on your white privilege that you didn't want to lose. And so we again are here because of the decisions that we all decide to make when it comes time to voting. And I would tell you again, when elections come up in Virginia, to know who you're voting for. We had 2 Black women that were great and powerful who have made sure that legislation and repro rights have always been given to Virginia, and none of them made it to primary. We decided to go with Terry McAuliffe, who we all knew from history wasn't about what he was.
That's right.
And so I again say, why are you guys all out here and outraged when we're all outraged, but when it comes time to voting, you decide to go with the other people? I'm confused in what we're actually doing in Virginia. And in order for us to protect Virginia, we have to be able to do something. I didn't see half of Virginians call out Governor Youngkin when his health commissioner stated health disparities don't exist in healthcare. Where the hell is he living at? Because the data doesn't lie. People experiences don't lie. Storytellers don't lie about their situations. What does it look like for a person who has a baby that's incapacitated and you're telling me that I can't get an abortion? And so that's what half the world has to look at. And so are we going to allow them to continue to take our rights? What are we going to do? It's either we're going to stand up or we're going to fold. And so I petition all of you to just not be out here when the news and the devastating news comes out and act like you're crying. Show us all year long when we're out here advocating, when we're putting together rallies, when we're saying, hey, we need people to stand with us. We need you to come out. Because look at these other states. Do we want that to look like Virginia? Our governor have already issued a press release early this morning saying that that's what he's planning to do in January. So am I going to see all of you in January or am I not? And so that's what we have to really think about when we think about Roe versus Wade being taken away. When it comes to Roe versus Wade for a Black woman, it was the floor. It wasn't the floor. It wasn't the ceiling, it was the floor. So we still couldn't access it. I have women right now that are saying, well, I'm just gonna fly and do this. But do people of color have that much funding? Are we set 400 years ahead of time like everybody else is? We're not. But one thing about Black women, what we do, when things do hit the fan, we protect our own. So at Birth in Color, we will be protecting our people of color to make sure that they have access to what they need to. Like we always have. It's a village. We've always been a village. We just need to get back to that. And so it's either you're going to stand with us or you're going to shut the hell up and stand on the side and let us do what we need to do. And I again say, when it comes to election time, I'm looking at all of the people. I will blast your ass on social media if I don't see you voting for who you need to, standing with us when it comes General Assembly time. And I'm going to hand it over to ACLU.
Good afternoon. My name is Mary Bauer. I'm the Executive Director of the ACLU of Virginia. Sorry I'm here under these circumstances talking to all of you. Even though today's decision was expected, it is still devastating. Eviscerating long-standing civil rights and putting millions of Americans in grave peril with just the stroke of a pen. When Roe versus Wade was decided almost 50 years ago, it established every person had a right to privacy, particularly when it comes to the fundamental question of whether to be a parent. The court recognized the autonomy, the bodily autonomy of every woman and pregnant person to make their own choices about what is best for themselves. But now our nation faces a new reality where bodily autonomy and the freedom to make medical decisions are not legally protected as a matter of federal law. So, make no mistake, abortion is still legal in Virginia, and we will all fight like hell to continue to have it be so. We must remain a safe haven for reproductive rights for people across the South and across the nation. This legal protection for abortion is in jeopardy. There will be legislative efforts to roll back abortion rights next year as there were this year. With the wrong people in office, those attempts could be successful. And it is Virginians and people seeking abortion services in the Commonwealth and beyond who will pay that price. This ruling affects every person in this country, whether you're a person who can become pregnant or a person who loves someone who may become pregnant. But the burden of this decision will fall so disproportionately on the most marginalized persons, Black and brown people, LGBTQ folks, immigrants, low-income people, young people, those who live in rural areas. The right to an abortion is not just a medical procedure, it is a right to make the most important decision about your life. The decision to become a parent, free of governmental interference. It is the right to determine one's health, one's future, one's outcome, to put one's family first, to own one's own body and decide what happens to it. Although this decision is appalling, we promise you that the ACLU of Virginia and our partners, our allies, all of us here will work tirelessly to ensure that abortion remains safe and legal in Virginia. That any person who does not want to be pregnant does not have to be so, and that no person is criminalized for not wanting to be pregnant, not being able to carry a pregnancy to term, or for assisting someone who does not want to carry a pregnancy to term. We will never stop working to ensure that Virginia remains a place where women and people who can become pregnant are empowered to make decisions for themselves. We're not giving up. We're just getting started. And now I'm proud to turn this over to Mayor LeVar Stoney.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today marks the beginning of a dangerous chapter in our history, the history of this country. And I use the word dangerous. I want to emphasize that this ruling is dangerous. It sets healthcare back 50 years. It reverses 50 years of the Supreme Court's own precedent of upholding the constitutional right to abortion. Without a doubt, more people will struggle, more people will die, and we will all be less free. Denying access to reproductive health care will adversely impact our most vulnerable, especially those in our Black and brown communities, and those living in poverty. We know how we got here. Presidents, Republican presidents, who did not win the majority of the popular vote, put extreme activists on the highest court of this land. These activist judges care more about access to guns than they do care about access to reproductive rights. And right here in Richmond, we have a governor who has already tried to chip away at Virginia's access to abortion care. But the majority of people in this country, and the majority of those here in the Commonwealth, don't feel that way. He is in the minority. They are in the minority. We are the majority. And they know that we are not backing down. Remember, this is the same party installed on the Supreme Court that refuses to pass legislation that will provide access to child care, access to universal pre-K. They will not only force people into unwanted pregnancies, and that means we must fight back. You may feel dismayed right now. You may be grieving right now. You may be angry. And I should say this, we all should be angry. But we must channel that angry and that same energy into action at the ballot box. We have to vote like our lives depend on it. Because guess what? They do. They do. Evil triumphs when good people do nothing. When good people, as Kendra said, stand on the sideline. That's when evil triumphs. And we need every good person to get involved in our democracy and work together to create the change we all desire, that the majority desires. Let this not be the last time that we gather to fight back against a minority opinion in this country and in this state. Let's now take the necessary steps forward to let folks know that we will not go backwards. Not in Virginia and not in the city of Richmond. Thank you. Now it's my honor to bring up the Commonwealth Attorney in Henrico County, Shannon Taylor.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Shannon Taylor, and I am the Commonwealth Attorney for Henrico County. As others before me have said, this is a sad day. It's a sad day for women and for families, for everyone across this Commonwealth and this nation. Almost half a century ago, Roe v. Wade became the well-settled law, establishing our constitutional right for women to make the choice of what to do with our bodies without government interference. 25 years ago, Planned Parenthood versus Casey reaffirmed that right, left that right settled, not disturbed. More recently, the same rationale supporting a woman's right to choose reaffirmed our constitutional rights, building on the right to privacy, to say that we can marry anyone we choose. And now, the Supreme Court has overturned Roe v. Wade one fell swoop, abrogating our rights and turning the clock back. And let me be clear, it's a decision based on 5 people's opinion, not my opinion on how to interpret facts, their opinion on how those facts are. And this decision is not just the most serious attack on women's rights in our lifetime, it is the most serious attack on every right that every single one of us has. It's an attack on our constitutional rights. Ever since Roe became well-settled law all those years ago, let us again be clear, the Republicans have made a concerted effort to undermine that well-settled case law, control women's bodies, and overturn it and take us backwards. Back to a time of back alley abortions, back to a time where women were literally dying when faced with a choice that they had no choice at all. Back to a time where families then were left without loved ones because of those choices that they had to make. And it was a choice that was the most personal of decisions for those women. Look no further than just a couple of blocks up the street. Just several weeks ago, during the session, the Republicans in this state proposed legislation to turn Virginia back decades. And our new governor has made it clear where he stands. He reaffirmed his commitment to go on the offense, having just recently stated that he supports his definition of potential life at 15 weeks. That's right, our governor in this state wants to prosecute women and doctors for seeking reproductive health care. He wants to tell women how to live their lives. He wants to make those personal choices for them. But like we've all been saying here today, and I will echo, we will fight every single day and put every effort to contradict anything that this governor proposes. We will stand tall to ensure that Virginia remains that safe haven she is today for reproductive health care. And not only are we going to go against Governor Youngkin, this decision just reminds us how important every election cycle is. As we like to say, Virginia, every year we have an election. So whether or not it's this year's congressional races, whether or not it is the all-important races for the General Assembly next year in 2023 and for your local representation, and most importantly, that presidential election in 2024, we all need to be prepared. We need to work each and every day to make sure that everyone understands what's at stake and make sure that they vote. Just like Kenda said, don't you guys let this opportunity go by. We all need to stand together, not just today, every day. And I promise that I will be there with you all every day and be there with you as we are walking and marching and knocking on doors for the congressional races this year and in 2023 and in 2024. Because, ladies and gentlemen, too much is at stake. But it is going to be my greatest honor in my current role as Commonwealth Attorney to make sure that Virginia is going to stand tall, and we are going to support women for their choice to decide what to do with their bodies. And with that, it is my honor to introduce and bring up here Delegate Williams-Graves. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon. Today's egregious decision by the Supreme Court to reverse the constitutional protection of choice is insulting, and it is dangerous to every single woman in Virginia and every single woman in America. But we knew this was coming. And we also know that Governor Youngkin and Virginia Republicans have been chomping at the bit to criminalize our most personal and intimate decisions regarding health care, as well as patients and health care providers in Virginia. Virginia Democrats must continue to stand as a brick wall against any and every attack on personal choice. This is not just about abortion, but this is about personal choice. As a Democratic legislator, I intend to fight every day to ensure that our personal choices remain free. As I said before, women are fully capable of making decisions for themselves and their families regarding their bodily autonomy. Me and my Democratic colleagues will continue to fight for the right of personal choice for every woman in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And with that, it is my honor to bring up Chair Charnel Herring.
I just want to reflect just a little bit, because a lot of us are here fighting the same fight again that our mothers and grandmothers fought before us. And that is access to reproductive health care and the right to privacy. In law school, we started reading constitutional decisions, and we always learned about the penumbra of rights that emanate from our Constitution, and that we should protect it. And I'm proud to say here in Virginia, we did pass the Reproductive Health Protection Act. I carried that legislation along with Senator McClellan. We rolled back all the oppression. All the oppression that existed in our polls, waiting periods, forced mandated ultrasounds, and access in Virginia to abortion is legal, is safe. But I will tell you all, we're coming back here not next year, but in September. And I'm going to sound the alarm now because we need you. We need you to make it sure and clear to every legislator that the majority of Virginians do support access to reproductive health care. And the reason why, it is about family planning. It is about our basic privacy rights, our bodily autonomy, our ability for self-determination. This is fundamental, very fundamental. We will continue to fight. We will continue to protect the law that's on the books today here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We will not go back. Now it's my honor to introduce Senator McClellan.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm angry today. I'm angry today because, as Delegate Herring said, we are fighting the same fights that our parents, our grandparents, and our great-grandparents fought. I'm fighting because for the first time in my lifetime, the Supreme Court has taken away one of my rights. I am angry because my 7-year-old daughter will have less rights when she becomes of childbearing age than I do. But if we got to fight, we're going to keep on fighting. Because 11 years ago, when I walked into that building as the first delegate in Virginia's history to be pregnant, I walked in with a new understanding of how state law can impact the healthcare decisions that I make. I walked in there with a new understanding of how government and politicians can insert themselves in a doctor-patient relationship. And I walked in there saying, we're going to make sure that pregnant individuals can make a decision on what to do based on what they want and what their doctor and their provider recommend, and not what politicians say. That's where we are today. What the court has done is sent this fight back to the states and the Congress. The Congress may not act, but we acted in Virginia. Delegate Herring and I rolling back those same medically unnecessary restrictions to abortion that we had to fight 11 years ago. And we're going to keep on fighting. Because here in Virginia, abortion is legal. We already have become a safe haven in the South. We will fight tooth and nail to stay that way. And although the governor wants to have a 15-week ban, which is out of step with what a majority of Virginians want, we're going to say no. That's right. We're going to say to the party that professes to care about parental rights, you will not insert yourself in the decision about whether to become a parent in the first place. That is the most fundamental parental right there is. We will not let you take it back. We will not let you stand in the way. We will fight so that my daughter will not have to fight the same fights that we're fighting today. Thank you all for coming. Let's get to work.
Again, thank you everyone for coming. We're going to cut it off there. Again, I ask that the permit ends at 1:30 so that if we can clear the premises, that would be great. Thank you so much everyone for coming out.
I'm not one of the people who